3, 2, 1.
Here we go! I'm Wally, and welcome to this episode of Car Talk with Wally. We have some very special content for you today as I walk through my top 5 favorite vehicles of all times. Now, of course, I love a lot of different cars, so this is not the holistic list, but these are very, very special 5 vehicles that I truly love and adore. We also are going to get some special content from a few of the owners in the Atlanta area of a few of these vehicles on this top 5 list. I'm Wally, and today we're at Caffeine Octane, Atlanta's largest monthly car show, where the community brings out all of their coolest cars. Following the theme of today's episode, we're going to be looking at people and their cool cars, and we're going to actually visit a few of the top 5 cars that are on my favorites list. In at number 1 on my top 5 list is the Porsche 911. Now, I'm a true believer that if you're gonna purchase a Porsche, you need to purchase a real Porsche. So that Porsche should be a 2-door sports car. Now, we all love the Cayenne, even the Taycan. That's an amazing vehicle. However, if you're gonna have a Porsche, you need a 2-door sports car. Now, I love the Cayman, I love the Boxster, and even some of the throwback rides from the 80s, such as the 928, the 959, actually one of personally my favorite vehicles, although I have not seen one in person. Actually, no, I have, just once. But anyway, I love those vehicles. But 911 is the original. It is the creator of the Porsche brand, and basically why it has its heritage of a quintessential sports car of any era. If you look at the 60s, the 70s, 80s, etc., it always has set the tone for what a sports car should be. And if you look at the unique styling, arguably similar to a Volkswagen Beetle, but that's a whole nother story there. It really has a distinctive look as well as a distinctive layout. When you look at the rear engine layout and that flat 6 that Porsche is really known for, it creates a driving experience that is very, very unique to the Porsche 911. And so that is why it is one of the first vehicles on my list. My name is Wally. What's your name? David? Awesome. Where you from?
I'm from Orlando, Florida. Originally live in Gwinnett County now.
Awesome. So 911s are like one of my favorite vehicles. So tell me a little bit about this car and just how you got it and all of that.
It's a 2015 Porsche 911. Just always been in love with Porsches. Finally got a chance to own one.
Nice. Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Yeah, best car I've ever owned and driven.
Yeah.
In love with it.
Awesome. So 2015. So what engine is in this? And did you do any modifications?
I haven't done any modifications. It's a 3.6.
3.6.
Just basic 911.
Okay, so no turbo or anything?
No turbo. Yeah, it's a 911 Carrera.
All right. So have you taken this vehicle out to any like track days or anything like that?
I haven't done a track day. I've driven it to Florida.
Okay.
Most I've got up to is like 100 miles an hour. It's a little scary to go over that.
All right. So you just starting your journey. You had to turn it up a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I beat the guys that go on mountain runs. All these guys back here. This is actually a whole black Porsche group.
Oh wow, Black Porsche group. Wow. So where can we find you guys on Instagram?
Well, I just found out about it myself.
Okay.
But it's blackporscheofatlanta.com.
Okay.
That's the name
Okay.
of the website.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely be following up with you guys. And so another question for you: when did you first fall in love with cars?
Probably since I first learned to drive, since I was 16. I've had I don't know how many cars over the years. I normally change cars every 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Just because I always like to have something new and reliable, and
Yeah.
I've just always been a car guy.
Awesome. So outside of Porsche, what are your favorite brands?
Had a BMW for a while, BMW 7 Series, that was real nice. Probably a BMW and Porsche are probably my favorite too.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, do you have an Instagram? You want people to follow you or
Yeah,
not?
absolutely. So my personal Instagram is Cool Geeks ATL, COOLGEEKZ ATL.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Same here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And at number 2 on my list is the 1971 Plymouth Hemi Cuda. And I know you're saying, like, 71? What is it about this 71 Hemi Cuda? Well, I will tell you. So, as I was growing up, there was a particular show called Nash Bridges. And I used to watch this show with my grandmother. And on a Friday night, of course I was a kid, I had nothing better to do. So I used to watch this show with her. But I used to love watching it because of Nash Bridges, who Don Johnson played. He had this 71 yellow Hemi Cuda with white interior. And I just loved that car. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I wanted to be him. I was like, I want to drive that car. It's like, it made this cool sound, you know, how the Hemi has that, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it does all of that. So that car was just so important to me at the time. So that's why I had it included on my list. So when I get the money for a Cuda, I'm going to get a Cuda. Best believe. So tell us a little bit about this car. Now, this is this a 71?
This is 74.
74,
Cuda.
okay.
It's a 360 car originally called E58, and then it's a 4-speed car as well from the factory, and it's originally black.
Wow.
And we were going to do 2 cars, and this was going to be the other car was going to have this color, but we realized we couldn't do 2 cars, but so we painted it this color.
But we did it twice, so we could have done 2 cars.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right.
So it's one of 398 originally, and right now it's one of 13 known to be black in TX9.
Awesome.
So the car is not original at all. This is my interpretation of what we would have seen if Chrysler kept on building AARs like that.
With the tires.
With the tires and everything else.
Oh,
So,
yeah, the ARs.
so
yeah.
this is a 74 AAR, which if you look
The
here.
springs were moved in 4 inches on each side, so he's got the big tires.
So, and then custom interior, with the custom airbrushing on the console and the shifter and the dash. And the trim on the seats, she got the seats done.
Oh, that's
to match the
beautiful.
front and the back. So it's all being redone. NASCAR style exhaust.
This is a very famous vehicle here.
It's getting to be that way.
Yeah.
Getting to be that way. So.
What car magazine will it be featured in?
Local Car Magazine, it's a Georgia magazine.
Oh, okay.
And Larry Gardner does it. He's a local artist also. The covers are all hand painted. He does that. So he spent a day with us doing a photo shoot and doing an article on it now, and it'll be an April edition.
Awesome.
We're
So-
quite happy and quite proud.
Yes, as you should be. So, question: what engine is in this vehicle? Because if I'm not mistaken, 74 was when the
360.
government.
Yeah, they'd already
had-
done it. Factory 360. The engine was long gone, and I probably wouldn't have used it anyway. But it's a small block, 400 horsepower small block, 10-to-1 compression, and now has fuel injection, so it runs a little better than carburation. So
Oh, so you said a small block.
small block.
Wow. So it's not a Hemi in there.
No.
Wow.
It's only 328 cubic inches.
Okay. So
Yes.
what made you make the decision to put a small block?
I wanted to go around corners instead of doing straight lines.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a little bit easier to drive, so I didn't want to have a big block like this.
Yeah.
The next one, it's just too much. This is more like a road racing car than it is a drag car. That's what I built it as. So this would be at home more at like Road Atlanta or Road America or someplace like that than it would be on the drag strip. And I'm not going to be racing on the drag strip. I might take it around Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
A little bit easy.
Yeah.
Get some pictures, but that's about the extent of what I would do.
Awesome. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful car because the Hemi Cuda is one of my favorite vehicles.
I haven't seen one here today, is it? I haven't seen one here yet.
Oh, really?
I haven't seen one yet.
Oh,
here
like
today.
Oh, like this.
A Cuda or a Hemi period. I haven't seen a Hemi period at all.
Interesting.
There's
So
a
all
yellow
of these-
71 Hemi Cuda convertible around here somewhere. We had it at the Summit Show a year and a half ago.
The paint was matched from a die-cast car that we had, and we took it to Chrysler Canada 15 years ago when we were in Canada, and they matched the paint for us.
Wow.
So yeah, there's quite a few stories for this stupid thing.
Yeah. So one lasting question for you guys. When did you first fall in love with vehicles, like cars? Do you remember?
I grew up in Canada.
Uh-huh.
We had a lot of snow, and in order to stay warm, we would sneak into Randy's garage with his dad, and his dad said, "You're going to do this or you're going to do that." And we had to learn how to do car stuff, and there was always cars in and out. So, and we had a speedway in Windsor, and that's what we did. It's always good, and I like speed. I like speed.
Ah, okay. I bet you do. I can see it.
I started in Australia. I was in my uncle's little MG trying to drive that down the driveway into the garage door.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to that, but I've always been into cars before I came to the States. But it's always been my life, and I'm the only mechanical guy in my family. Everybody else is not like that at all. So.
Wow. Well, it's been a pleasure hearing about the journey. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you. And at number 3 on my list is the Buick Grand National. So back in the day when I was growing up, my uncle had I'm going to say it was a 1985 Buick Grand National. And the thing about this car is it looks like a regular Buick. It looks like squared off and, very unassuming. But it's something about that blacked out paint, those unique wheels, and then that turbocharged 3.8 liter V6 engine. It really catapults that car to a whole nother level. And believe it or not, the Grand National was actually faster than the Corvette at some point in the 80s. Like, a lot of people don't know that, but it was killing Corvettes just a little bit. So that's why I just had to put this on this list. And when my uncle would start it up growing up, I was like, ooh, it was just like start up as this crazy thing, and I was like, wow, what is that? Now I was scared of it, but I was just intrigued. I was like, I'm scared, but I want to get closer to it. So that is why I really had to include that on this list, and I'm on one of them too. So I really need a very extensive car budget. So we're working on it. Working on that. And at number 4 on my list is the C3 Corvette. Now, for the Corvette enthusiasts out there, a lot of people are like, the C3 Corvette? That was the worst Corvette ever. And I'm like, no, it wasn't the worst Corvette, but it's the most, how do I say it, unique span of Corvette, if you will. And I say that because the Corvette, the C3 Corvette, started production in 1968, and it didn't in production until 1982. So I don't know what the heck Chevrolet was doing for 14 years, but listen, that's how long that Corvette lasted. But during that phase, there was a lot of different iterations. You can get a big block, humongous engine in the Corvette as of 1971, or that had 425 horsepower. But then by 1982, you can only get like 190 horsepower in a small block V8, which is like how am I going down in performance? It doesn't make any sense. But if you understand the times and what was going on during that era, in 1973, there was a oil crisis, where the price of oil just shot up, and then everybody just had to figure it out. So General Motors had to detune a lot of the engines and even their performance cars to make them low-powered, fuel-efficient, and just killed all the life out of cars. But yet and still, if you look at the design of the C3 Corvette, I just think it's beautiful. I think it's very classic, and how they perfected those lines compared to the 63 model, which was the original Stingray. But something about those lines of the C3 Corvette I just love, so that's why it's number 4 on my list.
Right, hello, sir. How are you? I'm well. I'm Wally.
I'm Eli.
And my owner,
Eli. I'll give you my first name.
All right. So where you from? Atlanta. Okay.
When I pick my car up,
a little bit about your car here.
Well, it's a 1973 Corvette.
73.
Yeah, and it was 1 year only that the government in the 70s started outlawing chrome bumpers, and they went to the rubber bumpers. So this is a 1 year Corvette that has a chrome bumper in the back and a rubber bumper in the front. And it was done by mandated by the federal government as a safety reason. So all the new cars after 73 all have rubber bumpers. In the front and the back. And this was a 1 year, and it's a convertible, and it was made in St. Louis at the Corvette plant there.
So that's interesting. They had the Corvette plant in St. Louis.
It was always in St. Louis, and then they moved it to Bowling Green. Later on.
Okay. Interesting. So this particular Stingray, what engine is in here?
It's a 350 cubic inch with a 4-barrel, and somebody way before me changed the carburetor and the intake. But I was able to, with luck, to find the original carburetor, and most everything on the car was original or a restoration part, you know. But it's mostly, been just like it was made.
Wow.
And the other thing they did when this car was made is they were worried that the federal government was going to outlaw convertibles. And so in this year they only made 4,900 and something convertibles Corvettes. That's all. Because
So you have a very rare vehicle.
yeah, well, there are not many of them. Not 73. Usually they made like 25 or 30,000 convertibles. But that year they were worried that they weren't going to let them sell it. And the government has a lot of they have a lot of regulations. The other thing about this car is it's the first year where they made them put, because it's fiberglass, which is plastic, they made them put a steel bar in the doors. Yeah, that's right. Everything, they started adding safety features, and I guess the other thing, but I don't know when they started that, but like it has an alarm system, and then it also has a steering wheel locks. When you take the key out, it's on the column like normal modern day cars.
Interesting.
So that the steering wheel, you can't turn the steering wheel. It was part of the theft, anti-theft.
Anti-theft, yeah. Awesome. So where did you find this vehicle?
I bought it from a gentleman that I think buys and sells cars on the side, and he bought it from a man in North Carolina that had a car lot. And when I was working on the car, I found a business card, and it had this car lot in North Carolina. So I've been in sales my whole life, and I called this guy up, and he remembered the car. And I asked him about the carburetor. He says, "Oh, I've got it in my garage." So my daughter lives in North Carolina with her family, so I sort of told the story to my wife, and we drove from Charlotte all the way to Raleigh, and I bought the original carburetor and manifold. If I haven't put it on there yet, but maybe one day I will. The thing on most cars is the more original the better the higher the value.
Right.
Most part. If it has the original engine and the original hood and the original parts, there's always a premium in most cars.
So even when something breaks on this, you do your best to get some original parts.
I try. Sometimes you can't. Like this is plastic and it was pretty well worn. And there are companies that have restoration parts.
I see.
Some are better than others. That's the one thing. In Corvettes, they made so many of them. There are a lot of parts you can find. They call new old stock.
Yeah.
But then, and then of course the restoration. Like most of the parts have dates, serial numbers, and my hearing is shot. But my friend over there told me that my alternator was making noise, and so I looked at the serial number on the one I had, and it was a 75.
Okay.
They put a date. There's a date code on that number, and so evidently 2 years after the car was owned, they had to get a new alternator. So money talks, right? So I found a place that takes old alternators and they refurbish them. And so, but this is one that's the same. I think it's 2 months before my engine was made. So there's actually a sequence. So if you have a car, this car was made in November of '73. So the engine was made, I think, in either August, I can't remember. But anyway, so because they have to make the engine in one plant and they ship it to another to be assembled.
Exactly.
So this would be the same. This is the same date alternator that would go with this engine.
Okay.
It's a real, you can really go crazy.
Yeah. With just following the serial numbers.
Well, the serial numbers, right.
I can imagine.
And there's serial numbers on the engine, and well, most of the bigger components, and then some things, what's the word I want to say? Some things, the restoration parts are really different.
Yeah.
Just because of the technology,
Okay.
of the way the things were made.
Very cool, very cool. So another question for you, and this is my last question.
Sure.
When did you fall in love with cars? Like, do you remember
About
when you were a kid,
12 or 13.
12 or 13? Interesting. And what was like the first car that really struck your interest?
Oh, well, I had a hand-me-down Impala like that, but it wasn't a super sport. It was a 4-door family car.
Okay.
And it started to give me trouble, and then I was able to get my dad got me a Camaro, and so I've always been in love with cars, and I've always I've always worked on them.
Yeah.
But and as I got older, I've gotten worse. So I have a few cars at home.
Awesome.
My children are all grown, so these cars are now my children.
Yeah.
And they're just as expensive as having children.
Exactly. That part.
They're always needing something.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, and I appreciate your time today.
Oh, listen,
and
no
it's been a
problem,
pleasure.
man.
Yes.
I got to take your hand.
Yes.
I've had all my shots, as we say.
Oh, well, you're good to go.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In at number 5 on my list is the DMC DeLorean. So this is a very, very controversial car for a lot of different reasons. So if you are around my age and, just growing up, you've probably seen Back to the Future. So that was the star of that movie. The DMC DeLorean was definitely the star of that movie. But it has a very storied past because the founder was John DeLorean, and he's actually a former GM executive. He decided to start a car company, and he just had this vision of what a car company should look like, or sports car should be. And he wanted to carry that out. He was getting very frustrated with some of the GM executives. He couldn't do what he wanted to do and design what he wanted. So he said, I'm going to build my own car. And that's exactly what he did. With a bit tangled results, I would say. Although it had very, very beautiful design and looks, it wasn't really a performance car. They had put some joint venture engine from Renault, Volvo, and some other car company into that particular vehicle, and it made it a little bit sluggish, and it was also very heavy because the outside of the vehicle is actually stainless steel. The whole body is stainless steel. So it's beautiful, but it's heavy. So it's really more of a GT car. And it got kind of mixed reviews, you know, when it came out. But Back to the Future really, really made that car a star. And if you look at DeLorean's history, it's very sketchy because DeLorean actually was arrested for drug trafficking, trafficking cocaine to get more funds to actually uplift DeLorean. But he was freed of the charges, so we don't know if he did. Allegedly, he may have not done it. It's possible. But he got up, so. But anyway, that's the DeLorean.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm Wally.
I'm Opie. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. And where you from?
I'm from Marietta, Georgia, and I'm here at the show today, Caffeine Octane, with my 1983 DeLorean DMC 12.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about this beautiful car that you have today.
So 1983 model. I've only owned it for about a year. The previous owner did an amazing job taking care of it and keeping her up. A lot of people think she's been restored or anything like that, and truth be told, it's all original.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I have had the wheels repowder coated by ATL Custom Coaters in Marietta, but other than that, original seats, original panels, everything, all original.
That is amazing. Wow, so this is like the original engine?
Original engine and all, absolutely.
Everything, wow.
We can walk around and inside.
Yeah.
The seat shows a little bit of wear, but nothing major. It does have a stereo in it. It's called Bon Jovi, which is
okay.
it actually John Bon Jovi was involved with this company at one point, and they created a line of stereo systems to put in these particular cars. And so he since stopped doing that. But that was considered almost not a factory upgrade, but one that the DMC dealerships are doing on cars at a certain point.
Awesome. Wow. So how many miles is on this particular vehicle?
This particular vehicle has almost 55,000 miles.
Okay.
And it's funny that the cars kind of get a bad rap for not being very good. And I think what it boils down to is this: is any vehicle that's set for an extended period of time is going to have problems.
Exactly.
So I think the key is, you got to maintain it, of course.
Yeah.
But just get out and drive it. Don't let it sit.
Is it hard finding parts for it?
Not at all. There's 4 DeLorean Motor Corporation dealerships in America. There's one in Los Angeles, Chicago, Orlando, and Los Angeles, Chicago, just outside of Houston, Texas, and of course Orlando. We just got back from Orlando myself, getting some service work done.
Awesome, awesome. Now, there is a company that creates like electric vehicle replicas of these. Like, what do you think about that?
So I'm a purist,
Okay.
So I like the all original, the early '80s, and I love the concept of a survivor. Something that's made it 40 years and still looks this good. It was used and driven, but well maintained.
Yeah.
I hear some people are trying to put Tesla engines and stuff like that in them.
Are you serious?
Even
Wow.
like Chevrolet V8s. I've heard of that. But for me, I like it all original, and it's not fast, but
Yeah.
but the originality of it is kind of a point for me. So 2.8 liter V6 makes about 130 horsepower, automatic transmission, which the stick would be a little quicker.
Yeah.
But it's just such a blast to drive, and it rides smooth. It's just a fun car to drive.
And I'm quite sure you get a lot of attention.
You cannot even go into a gas station.
Exactly. A little movie called Back to the Future, really made this famous. So, yeah, I can only imagine the attention that you get.
And one of the things that I really like about it is part of what's going on here today, sitting here talking to you, is that I think there, especially with 2020, there's so many negative things that went on. Is the fact that a little car and a little movie can get people talking and create great memories from, and so I love the concept. Just the whole show life in general is a blast, meeting people and talking to people about cars.
Yeah, awesome. So one lasting question for you. When did you first fall in love with cars?
So, funny story. And it's a little bit drawn out, and it has a little bit of a bad side to it. But my older brother William passed away in 2019, and as we were going through his stuff, I had to go to Tennessee where we grew up and go through his stuff with my younger brother and my dad. We were going through some old files and found a drawing. Right? And so I was born in '73, so I'm an old guy. But my brothers and I had gone to see Back to the Future at the theater.
Wow.
And so this drawing pops up, and it's a drawing of the time machine. I used to love to draw as a kid, right?
Yeah,
and
me
so,
too.
And so same thing. And so my younger brother Jack says, hey man, don't you remember? And I'm like, no. He said, you drew that 1 hour after seeing the movie. And so, but my brother had this drawing, and this is about the time that this particular car came into my life, and I just thought, maybe this is supposed to happen.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
there's a bigger reason that all this takes place. And so, for me, really, you know, you go back to some of the old TV shows. I love the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. You know, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And the DeLorean for sure was probably my favorite. So really,
Mine too.
man, I've always wanted one ever since the movie came out, and ever since the night I drew that drawing after seeing the movie. I had to have it. And so now, how many every year, almost 40 years later, I finally got one.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank
It's
you
a
very much.
beautiful car, and I know that you'll get a lot of good use and just enjoyment out of
Absolutely.
it. So, yes. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of Car Talk with Wally. We had an excellent time at Caffeine and Octane here in Atlanta. And hopefully very soon we'll get to check out an owner's Buick Grand National very, very soon. But of course, peace and blessings unto you, and thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and check out more content on Car Talk with Wally. Thank you very much.
3, 2, 1.